Wrong thing. Hi, everyone. It's the last podcast of the year. Hope you have had a wonderful year filled with gaming and whatever else you like to do. Being passionate gamers or gamers without time, we all know that you're looking for the next big thing. So, as a middle aged gamer, you are paying less. So, here are some of the things to keep on your radar in the coming year. So, who would like to begin today? I think it's going to be Antoine, starting with his first game of 2022, right?
Oh, otherwise I could let Korean start, but no. Okay,
No,
I'm first.
I'm trying first for sure.
You're the first
All
on the
right.
script, so.
Damn it. I forgot there was a script. Anyway, no, I took notes instead of a script, so that works as well. So, since we talked about the Game Awards last week or 2 weeks ago with the most anticipated games, kind of disagreed on a couple. And I wanted to bring you my most anticipated one, which would have been Forbidden West, but it was already taken. So I took Total War Warhammer 3 because I already have number one and number two, and I really love this game. And I usually love the Warhammer universe, the fantasy one, and the 40k. I really like this universe, so I really want to see this game. And I already talked a little bit about it in previous podcast. I'm at work now. In previous podcasts. So I'm not gonna talk about one and two, but I want to focus about what three is gonna bring to the franchise. So back to the basic, it's coming out in February 17th, unless there is any last minute delay. Hopefully not. Uh, all developed still by Creative Assembly and Feral Interactive, and of course the Warhammer universe is always belong to Games Workshop. That covers the basic. So now, uh, what Warhammer 3 is gonna bring? DLCs, of course, but first it's gonna bring 6 new factions. It's mainly focused on chaos, which is gonna be the four main big bad guys, big demons, which are Korn, Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Zench. And for the human factions, you'll have Kislev, which are kind of like the Russian, and Cathay, which would be China. And they were asking if the developers will you do maybe DLC in the future for the countries around Cathay, because you have the Kingdom of Int, which would be India, and Nippon, which would be Japan. But unfortunately, Games Workshop have never really developed a lot of background on it, and especially in their figurines, like their tabletop game. Kate, Kislev, Inns, Nippon, they don't have their own factions. So that's kind of Kislev, they are planning to actually making their own figurines in the year to come, 1 or 2 years to come. But mainly what you're going to see in the game will be quite a surprise, because on the previous games, they took already existing figurines, so they didn't really have a lot of work to do. But here they're gonna have to invent, some characters. So there's gonna be some units. So it's gonna be fun. So that's the 6 main faction you will have with the game, and like on they did on Warhammer 2, I think they're gonna have one faction which is launched as a DLC. And oh god, you know how I hate that. You pay for the full game, but you have one faction which is not any faction, it's the Ogre Kingdoms. So these ones are coming as a DLC. So it's gonna be very, very fun, and I can't wait to play that one. So apart from the factions, they change a couple of stuff as well. First of all, siege battle are gonna be reworked, and that's really needed, simply because you tell me if you agree with me or not, if you played this game. But when you defend on a siege battle, it's very easy. I don't know why the AI just it's very hard for them to take your castle. It's extremely easy to trap them. As long as you purposely make a hole in your own wall, they will just rush into it instead of trying, making more holes to try to surround you or anything. Or they are very oh, there's a hole, let's all go in this tiny tiny hole. So it doesn't matter if they have, like 5,000 troops in front of you, they're gonna go 3 by 3 in the holes, and you just very easily kill them. So siege battle need to be reworked, and apparently there will be reworked, so that's nice. There's also a new Survival battles, I don't have much info on this one, but apparently it's gonna be fun. Um, Much like tower defense, as I understand, like you get attacked by weaker units first, and the more flag or point you capture, the more units are gonna be stronger. And once you have all the points that you need to capture, there will be a boss battle. So that could be interesting. And what's very, very fun for me, and because I was criticizing a bit the two first games, is that they will raise quality of life. So, first of all, for your flying units, you can topple them to be on land. So, you have flying Pegasus or flying horses. You can choose to keep them on in the air, or go behind the enemy, fly behind the enemy, drop them, and use them as cavalry. So that like increase your strategy, and that could be very fun. Second is magic. Magic was very hard to use because usually it's one specific unit, magician or hero, that you select, and you need to select his magic, and it's kind of hard to, in the heat of battle, to select exactly where you want to put it. So here, what they include, and it's an option you can toggle in or off, whether you like it or not. But I will definitely put it in because I think it's very cool. It's a slow motion casting. So when you start selecting your magic, the whole battle will be in slow motion. So you can put your magic circle exactly where you want, and that's gonna help a lot too, because usually uh, you put a circle, but because the action is so fast, well, I try to shoot at cavalry because they're very fast. But by the time the troop pass, and you shoot your magic, and there's no one in the middle of the plane. So it wasn't very, very good to use, and I never used magic very much in the previous game. So he's gonna really make this option much more accessible for me. And last one, which is the most important in terms of quality of life, there will be a button to have to select your idle units. So if you never play Warhammer, it's a strategy game, of course, where you pitch two armies against each other, which work by units. And it's not only about a point of life. Your unit has life, of course, but also have morale. And say that you have a unit of archers, which is placed, behind them. There's a forest, and they get ambushed by cavalry. Of course, to put poor archers, the morale is gonna drop extremely fast. So even if your unit is not destroyed, they're gonna suffer a lot of damage, of course. But more important, their morale is gonna be completely crushed. So what they do, they don't answer to you, the player, anymore. They just flee. They just drop their weapons and flee, and so what happens very often is that you continue your battle, but this unit, which fled at the beginning of the game, is at the bottom, at the corner of a map, and somehow, because they were not attacked anymore, they regain a bit of morale, and they answer to you. Except that, if you have two or three units like this at different points of the map, you completely forget about them. With this idle button, you can find these units which are not, they should be in battle, but they are not. So you can pick them up and ask them to re-engage, and that's gonna be extremely good. At least for me, I find that's a very good quality of life improvement. So yeah, that's what I really want to see, and it's gonna make battle much more interesting.
Questions, Adam?
I have a few. So this is the same as like the Total War Shogun and Total War Rome and all those, right? I mean, this is kind of the same. It's the same Total
mechanics.
War, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It's the same. Mechanics are a little bit different depending on the settings. Here, of course, it's very fantasy,
Right.
so you have much more magic and all. But for the most part, it would be hard to see in a Rome or something like this, you're flying Pegasus, for instance.
Right. So I'm wondering if you're a fan of the like Total War Rome or Total War Shogun, how accessible is this going to be? Is the magic going to be? Is it really
easy.
different, or if you enjoy those kind of games, you're going to enjoy this?
As I said, the general mechanics are the same. There's just some tweaks here and there, but it's gonna be the same.
Okay, so if you enjoy one, then you should enjoy this one as well.
Yeah, and exactly. And in the Total War, it's quite easy when you know how to trick the computer, the AI. there's some things which you can use from, doesn't matter the name of the series. Like when you're ambushed by several armies, there are one coming in front of you which is going to take a lot of time to reach you, and one attacking behind you. You just corner them, very close to the edge of the map. Make sure they lose morale, because a unit, as I said, lose morale and go to the corner of the map. If it gets out of the map, it's gone. The unit is gone. So you really ambush this new army coming from behind you. Make sure they lose their morale, even if you don't really hit their life or anything. As long as you make them flee, this army is gone. Even if it was a super powerful army, so that's one way to kind of trick the AI. It's not a bug, it's that,
The feature.
just exactly feature. They didn't really correct it, so I guess you have to play with it. I don't know, but that's one of the things. Or on Siege, same Siege. The computer have Pegasus, but they won't get inside because there's walls. They could fly over it, but no, they don't care. So
The other
or
question.
you just
Okay. No, go ahead. Finish.
no, it's just you put a few crossbowmen or artillery on the walls, and you just literally shooting pigeons because they're just gonna stay idle in front of you. And
so the other question, so the regular Warhammer, the fantasy, and Warhammer 40k, are they in the same universe? Because I thought 40k was supposed to be our universe, but in the future.
40k and fantasy are not in the same universe, but they share a lot of things. Like 40k is 40,000 years in the future. So even if fantasy is the same, roughly the same map as our world. It's not Earth. In 40k, they are coming from Earth. That's one of the difference. And the chaos is kind of the same in the way that the chaos come from another dimension, and they use portals to come into our world. That's kind of the same in both universes. There's a lot of similarities, but I don't think they are connected in the lore.
Okay, so they're kind of like multiverse kind of thing. So you have 40k, you have fantasy, and then you have kind of the chaos in the middle, I guess.
For instance, in fantasy, you have elves, you have dwarfs, you have all of this. You don't have this in 40k. In 40k, you have I forgot the name of the faction, but you have the humans of Earth, and there's on Earth only humans, unless maybe they just decided to kill. Yeah, exactly. And you have aliens, Xenos, bloody Xenos. So Eldars, Dark Eldars, the Tot or something like this, or the Terminators. I don't know what their official names anymore, but the skeleton coming out, the robot skeleton coming to destroy all life. Love them.
Yeah, I only wondered because you mentioned the gods, and I know was it Slanesh and Nurgle and them. And I was like, I thought Slanesh was created by the Dark Eldar way in the future. So how is Slanesh here? Or is this a completely different universe?
No, it's I think they're the same demons.
Oh, okay.
Nurgle is in both, or
right, but Nurgle had been around the whole time. I mean, Slanesh was created later, so I was like, okay, so how does the time work out? How is Slanesh there if Slanesh
they are all created? All of them are created in the same way, from the corruption of human minds.
Okay, so this is a different Slanesh.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing I'm gonna mention also on Warhammer 3, and this is why I didn't pre-order this one, because I really want to play it, but there's one thing which kind of stops me, is that in Warhammer 2, or maybe in the first one, anyway, you could play Chaos factions, and they're horrible to play. They're really horrible to play because in normal faction, take the humans, the elves, the dwarves, you capture cities. And the frontline cities are made to make units. The backline cities are made to make money. And that's how you make your whole economy, make money, money in the back, unit in the front, and you expand. That's how it goes. For the chaos, no, they don't care. You capture a city, you destroy it. That's it, that's gone. And then you go into the next city and against the next city. The problem is, that means that your back is never safe, because the ruins you leave, some orcs or dwarfs or whatever, the dwarf in the mountain, because when you start, you are close to Kislev with the chaos. So if you destroy Kislev, then you will have dwarves come down the mountains. You can have the bloody scavens, come to pick up the ruins are gonna be picked up by someone. That means that you can never be safe. As the more you advance, the more enemies you have on all sides, and that's why I really don't like with the chaos. So here you have 4 different chaos factions. I really hope that they will change this in a way that you are not always threatened, because what's the point of even if you are super powerful, if you have enemies on all sides, that's just too hard.
Cutting a path and moving around.
Yeah, exactly. But all the ruins are being rebuilt immediately, like within 5 turns. Puff, it's I left a ruin. Yeah, but we rebuilt it.
What about you, Korean? You got any questions?
I did, but we should probably move on since we're already at the 10:20 mark.
It's
All
okay,
right.
we have time.
We still got his game and then my game, and then I can imagine after Adam's game will be another 20 minutes.
No. I'll make it quick-ish. All right, so we're gonna hop into mine.
I know you two. It's acceptable.
All right.
That's why we need Korean, because we keep digressing. So
We do. All right. Well, if you're watching the screen, you know that it's already popped up. I'm gonna pick Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Really, what I was thinking, my big games for this year are actually going to be Horizon Forbidden West and Forspoken. But seeing as I've talked about those before, I decided to talk about something new. So Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, it's developed by Traveler's Tales, it's published by Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, and it doesn't have an official release date yet. It's just listed as early 2022. Now, it was supposed to come out last year in 2021, but it didn't. And so, yeah, some people were speculating, is it even going to come out? And it looks like it will. So if you've played previous Lego games, particularly the previous Lego Star Wars games, you basically know exactly what to expect here. Now, I've pretty much, the one Lego game that I played was Marvel Superheroes. And I really enjoyed it. It was really, really good. But from what I've heard, some of the Lego games can be kind of hit or miss, and that was one of the better ones. So maybe I got lucky and picked a good one. But the Star Wars games are typically thought to be pretty good. And this one's the thing about this one is that you had the original you had the prequel games, the 3 prequel games, and then you have the original trilogy games, and then you have the new trilogy games, and the Skywalker Saga is going to basically condense all 9 games or compile all 9 games into one set. So you're going to be covering all 9 movies from the very beginning, Phantom Menace, all the way up to Rise of Skywalker, and everything in between. So there's going to be plenty of stuff to be going on here. For me, I really the parts I enjoy the most are just the ships. I really enjoy just flying around in Millennium Falcon, B-Wings, X-Wings. That for me is my favorite part. So I'm looking really forward to that. But of course, if you're the kind of person who enjoys collectathons, Lego games are definitely that. You want to go through, you want to find all the characters, you want to find all the pieces, collect all the vehicles and all that. So that ought to be a lot of fun. And if you're if you enjoy platformers, there aren't too many platformers these days. They're starting to make a comeback with games like Hollow Knight and whatnot, but we kind of had a dearth of platformers for a while. So if you're enjoying platformers, these are really good. And also if you're a family that likes to play together, these are obviously very kid-friendly games. So this is a great game to play with your kids if you have them. But yeah, so the only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about this is that it is going to touch on all 9 movies. So this might be a really, really long game, considering that basically each movie had its own game, and now we're compiling 9 of them. So I'm sure there's going to be cut content. I've heard that they've obviously had to change some things because in the prequel trilogy, those I think were the original Lego Star Wars games, and they are very, very dated at this point. Certain things like pod racing mechanics and whatnot didn't work so well. So now obviously they've been learning from all the for a really long time on how to do these things. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm wondering what's going to be cut, what's going to be added, and everything. And I'm also kind of wondering, because in Lego games, typically when you play through a level, you have a set characters that you need to play through the level with. But then when you beat the level, you can go back and play as other characters. And because different characters have different abilities, when you play through a level, you usually can't do everything or unlock everything in one go. So typically you have to go through it again with different characters that'll have different abilities. For example, in the Marvel Heroes, for example, you might go through a level and there might be like a vault or something. And when you play through the level, you can't open the vault. But then if you play through again as Magneto, you can use his magnet powers to rip the door off or something like that. But then in the same level, you might have something where it's like a really high platform. So you need somebody who's able to fly or double jump to get into there. Or you might have like a vent that you need to get Ant-Man or the Wasp to shrink down and move through. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of replayability in these games. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And if it's if previous games are any evidence, this game will likely be very successful just because Lego Star Wars typically is, and this is all of them. So yeah.
What are the typical price points of these games?
These are typically the same price as regular games, so I'm expecting that at least for the PS5 version, I'm expecting it to be $70 US. I'm not sure about PC because I know right now PC is apparently looking to move in that direction too, as we can see with Final Fantasy VII Remake was recently released for PC for $70 US, and a lot of people complained about it. So Square took the price down, but kept the price the same. You just couldn't see it anymore. But so it looks like gaming is finally moving up to the $70 price tag. So I'm expecting that. I don't think, even though it's a compilation of a lot of these different things, I don't think it's going to be more expensive. So.
Okay.
All right, and 9 games to go with one game's gonna be a lot. Especially they'll have to work on eggshell because they need to avoid treating the same scenes as they did in the previous, games for each of them. So
yeah, like
I don't know how they're gonna do that.
Yeah, like if you look at they recently released on Steam a while back. I picked it up for super cheap. It was like I think 99 NT, which is about $3 US. And they had the Star Wars collection, which had all 3 prequel games and all 3 of the original trilogy games. So that was that was the full game. So that was 6 games for $3 US. That was a few years ago as I picked that up. But you could see a huge difference in the quality of the older games with the newer games, just in graphically and the animation and things like that. You could see a massive, massive difference in the way they looked. So this one, I think they're updating some things so that it's going to have a more consistent look throughout the entire thing. So I don't know what's getting cut, what's being redone. Yeah, I'm not quite sure on that. But I'm assuming they can't have all 9 games because I feel like that would not fit on a disc. And there is a physical release, so yeah.
I mean, but PS5 games are Blu-rays, right? So I mean, so you could fit it on a Blu-ray.
You could, but I mean, I think they already released a game for, what was the first one in the new trilogy? The Force Awakens. They had a Force Awakens game, and that was on a Blu-ray. So if they already had 1 game on a Blu-ray, now they're going to have 9 games on a Blu-ray. So I'm thinking, was the first game just really tiny? Was that game just really tiny, or is there going to be some trade-off here?
As I understand, these games are very based on humor anyway, so maybe they will just say, this part's not important, let's skip it.
Yeah, I'm sure they streamlined some things and made it easier and whatnot. And it'll be interesting to see if, because I know the one that they released on Steam, you kind of had like, I think, if I remember correctly, you have like a hub and then you can choose which game you want to go into. But for this one, I'm kind of curious if you could take, say, Rey and use Rey in the prequel levels. I'm not sure. I'm assuming you could, or I'm assuming you can. But it'll be interesting to see how they do that. If they just allow you 100, complete freedom, play whoever you want, wherever you want, whenever you want, or if there are going to be some limitations in that regard.
And did you play the original, the series of game you picked up for super cheap? Did you play them? Or it's
I
still
played a
in the
little
backlog?
bit, but then I got busy with other stuff. So
That's a lot. 6 game, I understand.
yeah, no, it is a lot, but like I said, you could see a huge difference in the quality of the prequel, especially the Phantom Menace game with like pod racing and stuff like that. And then you would look at A New Hope and say if you looked at the difference between the pod racing and the Battle of Hoth, you could see a massive difference in just the quality of the game, because they really just took the original games and compiled them into one collection. It wasn't a remaster or anything like that. But this one is, remastered and everything.
Okay, sounds cool.
For those people who are not like big story people like me, on occasion, right? Stories are just when I'm in the mood for it, which is not that much anymore. But so these are very story-based games, right? So there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of text. Would you say that?
I wouldn't say too much, because pretty much, like, for instance, Lego does movies. They do Harry Potter. They do, they do Harry Potter. They do Star Wars. They do Jurassic Park. They do Marvel. And I think the big appeal of these games is that they're trying to draw in audiences from these that are already fans of these franchises. I don't think they're really trying to draw in new people. I think they're saying, like, this is for Star Wars fans. This is for Jurassic Park fans. And because of that, I think there's kind of this expectation that you already go into it knowing the basic story. So basically, this is more of there's a lot more satire to it. It's kind of like a Mel Brooks film. Mel Brooks? Yeah, Mel Brooks film.
Remind me who
like
Mel Brooks is again.
He's the guy who did Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights, Young Frankenstein, those sort of things. So, if you're watching Young Frankenstein, if you have never seen the original, or if you don't know the original Frankenstein story, you can still kind of glean it from that. But the point is not to retell that story. The point is to kind of like riff on it. And I think in a lot of ways, Lego is like that. And also, this is a game that's designed with young people in mind. So it's not about the story. It's about having fun in the Star Wars world and reliving these moments. So if you're not a big story person, I don't think that you would have too much trouble with it. It shouldn't be too dialogue heavy, or at least the Lego games I've played haven't been.
You mentioned that you can play with the whole family. Is that multiplayer? I don't really know this game, so.
I think they're up to 4-player, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I have to double check that, but I think they are. Let me see. The Lego Star Wars multiplayer.
No, that's cool. So you could take characters with, completing powers.
Yep. Yeah, I remember with the Marvel superheroes. I think it was. I want to say 4, but maybe it's only 2. Let's see.
2 is more than enough.
It says co-op, so I guess maybe at least you can play at least 2 people. So
okay.
Yeah, and and complementing powers can be really, really useful.
Yeah, complementing. And it's like on the couch or like through internet online co-op.
I think it's just couch co-op. There might be online, but in the past it was couch co-op. Yeah, so the way you do it is. At least the way that they did it with Marvel Heroes was it was kind of like the old Sonic the Hedgehogs, where you have the 2 people and they fit on the one screen. But what this would do is it would do the thing where if you move apart, the screen, the camera kind of backs out, so you get like a wider vision. And if you get back together, then the screen will kind of focus in. But you can't get too far away from each other, because I think that you kind of end up hitting kind of invisible walls, so you can't get too far from each other. And in certain levels, you wouldn't want to anyway. For example, in the Marvel Hero level, there was one where you're underwater and somebody creates an air bubble, and you have to stay within the air bubble. So if you get too far apart, one guy's in the air bubble and the other guy's drowning. Yeah, so unless you have somebody that can breathe underwater and then they can go wherever they want.
Very cool.
Yeah. Do you want to go on with your game? I tried to keep mine short. I got it down to about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, pretty good. I gotta say that much. All right. My game is Saints Row. I want to add a number onto that, but no, there's no number for this Saints Row game.
That'd be 5 then, no?
Theoretically.
It's just Saints Row.
Okay.
Developer is Volition. Publisher is Deep Silver. Expected release date August 23rd, 2022. So still a good 8 months away. Of course, genre action adventure, open world. So I never played the first one or the second one. I believe I played 2 of these or maybe 3 of these. I can't remember now, but I'm like, this is one of those games where I love the soundtrack. So I have like both soundtracks on my computer, and they have like a lot of like British rap and other sort of cool music, and it was just really fun. Really, the most recent one was like very outrageous, having like Superman powers and Matrix style being in the world, but I think the one before that, with the gangster stuff and running your own crew, that was also really cool. It was a very accessible game. Like one of the things I think because I bought the GTA 4 and 5. I've never played them because I felt like GTA took itself too seriously, too much like talking and dialogue and say, go here, do this stupid thing. Why? Does it add to anything? No, I don't want to look around your city. It's not beautiful. I don't care. I just want to do the stuff and get powerful and be awesome. And that's what Saints Row does. Is Saints Row gives you the power back. Now, what I want to talk about for this game is I don't know a lot about it, but one thing that was mentioned by the developer is they want to take a step back from the most recent Saints Row, where you are in this Matrix-style universe and you're fighting aliens, and they want to go back to sort of reality, which I thought is a really cool idea. And it's some people might not like it because the unreality of the last game was. A lot of people did like it, the super speed, the super strength, the jumping over high buildings like Superman is really cool. So they did mention, the developer mentioned they want to take inspiration from John Wick, from Baby Driver. They want to get like an action movie feel, which I think is really cool. I think there's a lot of stuff you could sort of do in this kind of game, in the sense like if you can sort of, I'd love, because I mean John Wick, right? They had John Wick Hex. And there's another game on Steam which is sort of does this sort of like action gamey sort of scene where you can like throw this guy over, kick this guy in the torso, vault over the table, shoot this guy in the head, but there's no game that does this in like a beautiful sort of 4K universal style that you can kind of see as you're watching the trailer at the moment. So I think in the last few years I haven't seen anything that's really sort of captured the action movie experience with the way it sort of happened in movies in the last 2 to 3 years, with the special effects and bullet time and the really cool things you get to see. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping it'll sort of, that this is probably unlikely, it'll sort of cater to middle-aged gaming and say, okay, you get to play 1 hour or 30 minutes, and there are missions for this and there are missions for that, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, that is my game that I'm looking forward to 8 months down the line. It was kind of hard to think, actually, and as you guys are talking, I'm like, oh my god, there's another game that I want to play, but this is apparently what came to my mind when I thought about something.
So do you think that they are taking the fact that there's no GTA 6 in view to say, let's try to do a bit more to bring our universe a bit, down to earth, a bit more like GTA, to kind of take the spot and, conquer the market like this?
Oh yeah, dude, I didn't even think about that. You are totally right. I think that is definitely a valid reason, because people are looking for this sort of gangster style open world game, and it's definitely going to corner the market. I haven't seen anything for 2022 similar to this out yet or coming out.
So it could be a big break for them.
Oh yeah, but I mean, there's already a loyal audience. Like I can imagine, depending how things come up to the day, I might actually, even though I know Antoine says don't pre-order, I might actually pre-order this.
It depends if I don't know the Saints Row series, to be honest. So if it's a series which usually delivers properly on time, then fair enough.
I haven't had too many problems. Like I think I pre-ordered both of these, and I pre-ordered a whole bunch of stuff back in the going back years. I've only really had problems with a few games, probably out of a good, Jesus, maybe 50, 60 games I've pre-ordered. I've only had problems with about 5 or so.
Okay, Adam?
Yeah, no, I haven't played a Saints Row game. The way my friend described it to me was, at least the first one especially. The first one was kind of a GTA knockoff, and then the second one was kind of a GTA knockoff, but it didn't take itself as seriously. So it was more about like, hey, you know what? Let's just kind of goof off in this world. And then in the third one, things started getting really weird. And you know, there's one where you go to hell and you're playing GTA in hell, and then there's one where you know you're the president of the United States with superpowers and you're fighting aliens, and
The most recent one.
yeah. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that they and I think Antoine's right, where people have been asking for a GTA 6 for a while now, and all we're getting is new updates for GTA Online, and so maybe the Saints Row people were like, hey, this is the perfect opportunity to cut in on their territory because they're not focused on this sort of thing. But it does still, looking at it, you can still tell that it definitely still kind of has that tongue-in-cheek nature to it that GTA doesn't quite have as much. So there is still a lot of goofiness to it and just absurdity. There's a part in the trailer where the person runs into a car and gets launched into the air, and then they hit another car and that car explodes and they get launched into the air again. And it's just this chain reaction of ridiculous explosions. But yeah, no, it does look like it's going to be a lot of fun. It does look like it just takes the fun aspects of GTA, the destruction and just the over the topness, and just cranks it up and just let's just do really stupid stuff. We don't need a deep, thought-provoking, philosophical adventure here. We just need explosions and guns. So it does look like it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
When did you say it's gonna get released?
August 23rd, 2022.
August, and that's getting close to the end of the year. You think it'll be delayed to 2023?
Because it depends on COVID. Exactly. that is the only thing that it depends on, because still I think a lot of people are still doing remote work.
Yeah, anything for the first half of the year, I'm pretty confident will be released this year. But anything that's after July, I'm kind of like, it's still far enough out that we can have trouble.
See, I'm going to say the opposite way. I think anything in the first half of this year is going to get delayed. Of 2022 is going to get delayed.
Please don't do
that. I think anything in the second half, depending on whatever the next strain of the coronavirus is not that. It just depends.
Yeah, the reason I just say that is because I feel like anything that's in the first half is probably already close enough that if they haven't delayed it already, then they're pretty confident it's going to be out. Like, for example, Horizon Forbidden West is going to release in February, in two months, or February 18th, so a month and a half, basically. I don't foresee them in the last month of the half being like, you know what? Actually, no, we need to delay this. At this point, I'm like, either that it's going to be ready, or you have no clue what you're doing. So I'm pretty confident that one won't be delayed. But I kind of feel that, like, for instance, Forspoken, they haven't given this official date yet. I would be surprised if that releases in 2022. It has a 2022 date. Everybody was expecting it to be 2023, but they say 2022. I will not be surprised if it's 2023. But yeah, or like Elden Scrolls. That's got a pretty early release date. I don't foresee that being delayed.
Elden Ring, you mean? Elden Ring?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be delayed either, because they're
because you said Elden Scrolls.
How did I say Elden Scrolls? Elden Ring. Elden Ring. Yeah, Elden Ring.
I knew what you meant, and Andre knew what you meant, but I had to clarify right there.
Did I say Elden Scrolls?
No, but yeah, Elden Ring needs to be delayed.
The Elder Ring and Elden Scrolls. Yes.
Game for 3 years in a row.
This is why games shouldn't have similar titles. I get confused. All right, so it looks like we're gonna have just enough time for Antoine's second game.
Oh, damn it. I didn't really wanted to go into
I
this
can
one
go
simply
again if
because
you don't want to.
no, it's okay. I wanted to talk about Monster Hunter Rise. It's because I kind of like the Monster Hunter series. I did a lot on World before, and Rise technically is not a new game because it was a Switch game released March 2021 or something. Sorry, I don't have the. I didn't took notes on this one. I didn't do my homework. Anyway, this is not a new game. It's just like the PC release will be in a couple of weeks. I think it's mid-January. And well, of course, compared to the Switch, you're gonna have much better graphics. But so I can't talk too much about this game in particular, but I can tell you about Monster Hunter in general. If you don't know the world, it's so you can see, if you're not on a podcast, you can see the little trailer. The whole point is usually you are part of a research expedition researching dragon, and you can do that by either killing them or capturing them. And for this, your characters have 14, I think, different roles, which are split by weapons. You can have crossbow, you can have double sword. Usually, they are kind of fantasy weapons, which are how do you say transformable. Like you can have think like it's the axe which transform into a big sword, or you have a bagpipe. Of course, you can hunt dragon with a bagpipe. I love that weapon. What you will have, of course, you will have different dragons, but the most iconic dragons like the Diablo, or I can't remember really the name of the other iconic dragons, but you have your base dragon, which will always be there, and you have some different specific ones for this version. I heard, and I saw it was like a 94, 95% good critics on Rise, so it's going to be great. The point of the game, you kill dragons, you take pieces of their tails or horns and stuff, and build your own armor. And the whole game is about having better and better and better and better armor, and that's how you level up. Basically, having a better armor to counter every type of dragons, to counter fire or acid or frost or whatever. That's the whole fun of this game. I can't appreciate this game fully, at least for world, because I use as you know, I'm not a big multiplayer fan. I usually play solo, and these games are typically made to have fun with four people. And even at the end of world, I had to tag with other people because I couldn't solo the last dragons. Just I'm not that good, so don't make fun of me, but I had to have two or three other people to finally get rid of him. It's more enjoyable with other people. Although the solo part is great. They have a small story behind it, which is always enjoyable. But the story is not the point of this game. The point of this game is hunting dragons. Yay! So that's all I can tell you about Monster Hunter, and I don't know. I'm sure it's gonna be great.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I totally. I think, like, I was just talking about this with my friend Hans yesterday, and we're talking about like what games would be better on a Switch, and I feel like the Switch experience was actually pretty good for that tiny 7-inch screen. Of course, if you have the OLED version, but of course, 4K on from what I've seen of the visuals of this, I think this is not a huge leap, unless you're playing like on a really big TV and you have your PC next to it to power out all those textures and all the other extra effects that I can't remember right now, anti-aliasing 8x and FXAA, all that stuff. But I think it's cool, and you explained it well. I think most people are familiar with Monster Hunter right now. I think, given that all the magazine advertising and stuff that you see on buses here in Taiwan. Sorry, what are you going to say, Adam?
I was gonna say Monster Hunter is like my quintessential everything I hate in gaming. Because I really like the game. I played the original. I played the first one on the PS2, and I really loved it. And then it went to the DS, and then it went to the PS4, and then it went to the Switch. And I hate when you have a franchise that platform jumps, because I feel like if you're a fan of the franchise and you really want to get into it, and they're constantly like, oh, now it's exclusive to this, oh no wait, now it's exclusive to this, and it's just like, I have to own everything just to be, if you're a fan of it. And for me, that's really irritating. I really like the gameplay. And I mean, Monster Hunter is one of those really big games where, I mean, every now and then you get a game that becomes an archetype. We have roguelikes because of the game Rogue. We have Metroidvanias because of Castlevania and Metroid. And you have Monster Hunter clones because of Monster Hunter. So, I mean, this is a game that really created its own genre in a way. And even today, certain games like trying to think of another big one that's come out recently, but in some ways Soul Sacrifice, I don't know how many people know Soul Sacrifice or Freedom Wars, those games on the Vita or whatnot, but or God Eater, they're referred to as Monster Hunter clones. So I mean, this game is obviously huge and it's a huge franchise for Capcom, but I'm like, oh come on, like, why would you release Monster Hunter World on the PS4 and the Xbox and then not on the Switch? And then you put Rise on the Switch, but not on the PS4 and the Xbox. And it's like, come on, guys. Just release everything for everybody. Stop with this exclusivity.
I think there's also a Monster Hunter Stories as well, which is
yeah.
specific.
And all the monsters are cute and you're friendly. And yeah, it's a completely different kind of game. But yeah, when they went from the original PS2 and then they went to the mobile, that irritated me because I was like, no, I want to play Monster Hunter 2, but I can't because it's on NDS, and then Monster Hunter 3 or Monster Hunter Tri, and then they had a bunch of other ones, and then when it came back to PlayStation, I was like, oh yay, finally, we're getting Monster Hunter back, and then it's like, nope, bye. It's like
exactly like Valkyria Chronicle.
Exactly like Valkyria Chronicles, which also drives me nuts. I hate when that happens.
Just to conclude the Monster Hunter, unless you have other question, but just to say that if you have not seen the story, by Paul W. Anderson, the movie on cinema, please don't. It's a catastrophe. So avoid yourself some pain and do not see this movie, except if you want to laugh with friends and you have a lot of beers in already.
I don't think we have time for your second game.
We have time or we don't have time?
I think we do have time.
Oh, we do.
Depends. Do you have news?
No, I do not. It's Christmas and not much is happening in the gaming world because everybody's off. And with the exception of apparently Square Enix is in a lot because Final Fantasy 16 has been delayed and Final Fantasy Remake is not doing well on PC. It's got a bunch of issues. But other than that,
what about some quick 1 minute anticipations for next year? Like just a quick sell on something. I don't know if you guys have
Plague Tale Requiem comes out.
Sure,
I can do it real quick.
Game and why? That's it. We can alternate between each other.
I played the original Plague Tale when it came out free for PlayStation Plus. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It is a bit of a walking simulator with some stealth elements and whatnot, but the story was very solid. And this is one thing, for instance, Krian's always talking about shows and stuff that he's watched on Disney Plus or on Netflix, and I am still only on season 2 of Star Wars Discovery, and I have not watched Stranger Things or any of those because I spend all my free time gaming, so I have not gotten into TV. So when I want stories, I go to games, and this game has a great story. This one is a follow-up to the original. Amicia and Hugo leave their homeland to go to some island where Hugo's powers start acting up again, and then they hear rumors of another island where apparently they might be able to cure his condition. So that is the plot of the upcoming game. So,
cool.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Oh, I already talked about all the things which are being released in Jan and February because, first of all, they're going to take up most of my time until this summer, and I don't really know what comes out, this summer or September or, or fall, which for sure will come. So I don't really know actually what, of course, I'm going to do Forbidden West. Of course, I'm going to spend way too much time on Warhammer. So, and the Lego Star Wars, it's cute, but, I have to play a lot of Switch games with my son, like for instance, yesterday he thought, oh, Switch stick fight, that's so cool. It's only $10, Daddy. Come on, buy it. And now I have to spend the whole afternoon yesterday to play stick fight. So I can't play what I want. a lot of
The
times.
trials of fatherhood.
It's fun as well. It's just not what I want. But anyway, so yeah, definitely I'm gonna spend the first half of the year on these games, and for the second part, to be honest, I don't know yet.
Oh, and for me, I have so much. There's a bunch of Kickstarter stuff I did. I kickstarted the most this year. The one that after we said the topic and I prepared everything, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot this, and it is of course by Monomi Park and Slime Rancher 2, which is coming out in 2022. You guys saw me stream this, and hopefully I'll be back to streaming next year. But you play a person, you're on a planet. The second one is going to be a lot more colorful, a lot more beautiful, still the same relaxing, fun, collect slimes, make money, repeat the process. And that is the game.
If I remember correctly, Slime Rancher 2 comes out on Game Pass, correct?
Yes,
Day
yes.
one?
A lot of these will come out on Game Pass.
Yeah, because I just thought about that because I remember seeing that they had a list of the Day 1 Game Passes releases for 2022, and Slime Rancher 2 is on there. And A Plague Tale Requiem is on there as well. So if you have Game Pass, definitely you have no reason not to check out those games.
Well, what else, Adam? One more.
One more game, Forspoken. I think everybody knows about Horizon Forbidden West at this point. And I've mentioned Forspoken way back when it was still known as Project Athia, or Athia. But I'm really looking forward to that. Basically, the premise is you play as, I don't remember her name, but it's a girl who lives in our modern world, and she slips through a portal into the world of Athia or Athia. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. But basically, in this world, there's some kind of miasma or shadow or something that is slowly encroaching on the world. And then there's one last city where humanity is able to survive. And when the girl goes in, she gets this bracelet that can talk to her. It's kind of like Grimoire Weiss in Nier. That's where she can get her magic from, is from this bracelet. But because she's from our world, not from their world, whatever this corrupting force is doesn't impact her. So she can go out into the wilds, go out into the world, and look through the ruins of humanity that was left behind and take care of the people who were left behind, or the animals that were left behind that are corrupted by this power or whatever. So that one looks really, really interesting. It's made by the same team that made Final Fantasy 15, so for some people that might be a bit concerning for Antoine. But this is a very different game. So I'm really looking forward to it. It looks really interesting. And yeah, just looking at the way she traverses and does magic, it'll be interesting to see if they're able to pull this off. So I have high hopes, but still a lot up in the air. So
Or maybe I can try, if I have some time, play the Bethesda game,
Starfield.
Starfield, yeah.
Starfield.
If that releases this year.
If. Big if. It's for this summer, right? Or
November 11th.
Yes.
no, it's dead. It's dead.
Skyrim.
Really close. Really close. So that one kind of has me worried because it's right before Christmas. So it's like, okay, are they gonna be three possibilities. They're gonna be finished. They're not gonna be finished, and they're gonna delay. They're not gonna be finished, but they want to release before Christmas to get that sweet, sweet Christmas.
They
cash.
can't do that. They absolutely can't do that.
They've done it before.
Exactly, and that's why they can't do that anymore.
But now they have Microsoft backing them, so they don't need to worry about money.
That's true. And Microsoft's, just like all the tech companies, done so well this year and last year. So yeah, when you have a bottomless pit of money, why not?
Yeah, that was part of the reason why was it Todd Howard said they sold, was because now they basically have a bottomless pit of money. They can do whatever they want. They don't have to worry about finances. So.
Yeah, but that means that they will completely shoot themselves for all pre-orders of Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever, and any games they make after that, no one will pre-order them because that they are not reliable and they don't have a great reputation at the moment. If they screw this one.
But pre-orders is still like an age thing, I think. Like if you're in your 20s, you're a serious gamer, or even in your teens as well, and you got money, yeah, you're gonna pre-order it. But like we're old, we're not gonna pre-order stuff anymore.
Yeah,
there's so many games.
I feel like Starfield
could go.
Yeah, I feel like Starfield can go one of two directions. Either it's gonna be, I mean, it might just be good on its own. Who knows? But I'm thinking, it might be Bethesda could be kind of moving more into this like Fallout kind of direction that people weren't enjoying, or they might kind of go back to their roots now that they don't have to worry about money. Maybe part of the reason, Fallout 4, a lot of people didn't like it because they're like, oh, I don't like the story. I like having the freedom of doing what I wanted. But a lot of the things that were happening in Fallout, we were seeing were taken from other successful franchises like Mass Effect, like giving yourself a voiced protagonist and giving them more of a set story and that sort of thing. So I mean, maybe that was a marketing decision that they chose to do because they're like, we want to make sure that this makes money, and that's what's popular now. So maybe now that they have money behind them, they're like, nope, now we can just do whatever we want, and we don't have to worry about that. So who knows? It'll be. I'm really excited about it. I really want to see more. We haven't seen too much yet, so I'm really excited about it.
Very cool. And I think we can call this episode to a close.
All right, sounds great. Or sounds sad. Because that's the last of the year. So yeah, we unfortunately didn't get to Krian's last game. You want to just real quickly, because I had never heard about this one before. You want to just real quickly introduce it, Marvel Midnight Suns?
Oh yeah, no, I had barely heard about it as well. I was just sort of looking up something that's cool. So Marvel Midnight Suns is basically a Marvel game in the vein of Fool talked about this on the show at one point. The Switch has another Marvel X-Men game. This is very similar. You get to play as like a few guys, and you go, and there's a story behind the Midnight Suns. Apparently, it's in the comic books. And it is going to be on the Switch, so Switch exclusive, as much as Adam railed against that just now.
No, I have no problem with Switch exclusives. My problem is when a franchise jumps around. Yeah, since there have not been another Marvel game like this, I'm perfectly fine with it being.
So yeah, that's basically what this is. It's an RPG, play as characters, go through the story, level up, get stuff, gear. That's pretty much what this game is.
All right.
1 minute, I'm good.
Yeah, and it's an SRPG if I remember correctly, correct? Right?
Yes.
With some kind of card-based system.
Yes.
And of course, for the little sarcastic touch of the year, we can't wait for next year full release of Star Citizen.
Yes, it'll happen.
Yes. Gotta end every year on that.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. I had to mention it.
All right. Well, with that draws us to a close of both this episode and the year. We will be back next week, I believe. Right? We will be back, right?
Yes, without me.
Yeah, we will. Of course, we will. Yeah.
Of course we will.
But then I will be back in February, the first week of February, because it's Chinese New Year.
All right. So we have that to look forward to, and then Krian's going to be sticking with us pretty much every week.
Yes, from February forever until we grow old and die together on a podcast.
Together on a podcast. That'll be an exciting episode. But until then, yeah, we'll see you guys next week in the new year and with a new topic and surprise you. So, yeah.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy.